Have you ever wondered why life sometimes seems to stop, as if your dreams and prayers are frozen in time? Or why some things only happen after so much waiting? This may sound frustrating, I know. But what if I told you that this waiting wasn't a delay, but part of a bigger plan? What if it was God Himself shaping your life, preparing you for something much bigger than you realize? Today I'm going to show you why trusting God's timing is the key to living in peace while achieving what you so desire. We'll talk about what to do while you wait, how to understand God's signs, and most importantly, how to turn this waiting into a time of growth. Stay with me to the end, because you'll discover that God's best is not delayed. It comes at just the right time. How often have you felt that time is against you? It seems that while the world is moving forward, your life is at a standstill, your dreams are far away, and your prayers are unanswered. That's when discouragement tries to take over, isn't it? But I want you to know something important. What you feel is a delay could actually be the preparation you need for what is to come. Imagine a farmer. He doesn't plant seeds today and expect to harvest tomorrow. He understands that each plant has its own time to grow. There is a time when the earth seems empty, as if nothing is happening. But underneath, where the eyes can't reach, the seed is germinating, the roots are growing stronger. It's the same in your life. While you think you're just waiting, God is taking care of every detail, strengthening your spiritual roots so that you are ready for what He has in store. In my time on earth, I remember when people came to me asking for miracles, healings, and instant transformations. Many wanted quick answers, but before I acted, I asked them to reflect on their faith, their heart, and their purpose. Not because I wanted to impose a delay, but because everyone needed to understand that true transformation begins from the inside out. Waiting was not a punishment, but an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to align with divine love. And here's the big question. Are you using this time to complain or to grow? Because while you are waiting, God is molding you. He doesn't just want you to receive what you ask for. He wants you to be ready to sustain and fully live the blessing when it comes. Waiting is not a void. It is a time when the Father is working on you, even when you don't realize it. Sometimes impatience tries to convince you that nothing is changing, but believe me, change is happening. The seed is growing. And when you realize it, something deep begins to change in you. A quiet confidence that God's timing is never wrong. And that brings us to another important question. Have you ever stopped to consider why trusting in God's timing is so different from simply waiting? Waiting is something everyone knows, but doesn't always understand. When you wait for a delayed transportation or an important answer, the feeling is often one of discomfort, anxiety, and even doubt. Now, trusting in God's timing is very different, because it's not just waiting, it's delivering. It's not about standing still, it's about walking by faith, even without seeing the whole destination. When I was among you, many asked me, "Why does God delay?" And I told them that the Father doesn't delay, but acts at the right time. Trusting God's timing is like placing your life in infinitely wise hands. It's believing that every second of waiting has a purpose, even if your eyes can't see it. This trust frees you from the anxiety of trying to control everything and allows God's love and wisdom to take the lead. An example that can illuminate this is that of a mother preparing food for her child. The child, impatient, wants to eat before it's time, not understanding that the food must be ready, cooked at the right time, to nourish it and not harm it. It's the same with God. He knows the exact time for everything to happen in your life, so that the blessings are abundant and you are ready to receive them. Trusting God's timing, however, does not mean being passive. During this time, you are invited to align your heart and actions with faith. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this waiting? Often the answers lie in the details of your journey, in the people you meet, in the challenges that shape you. In the process, you discover that the act of trust brings a peace that nothing in this world can offer. Therefore, waiting without trust creates restlessness. But trusting in God's timing transforms your waiting into a time of preparation and purpose. And when you choose this trust, something powerful begins to happen within you. For even when it seems that nothing is moving, God is at work. It's natural to want to hold the reins of life, make detailed plans, and expect everything to happen the way we imagine. But when things get out of control, fear sets in. Our hearts fill with doubt and we begin to ask ourselves, why is this taking so long? What can I do to speed things up? And it is in this effort to control everything that fear takes hold and prevents us from experiencing the peace that only trust in God can offer. I see many suffering as they try to control everything, believing that the outcome depends solely on their actions. But this constant struggle drains their strength. Think of a child holding a kite on a windy day. He can run with all his strength, but if the wind doesn't blow, the kite won't fly. That's life. There is a moment when you have to stop, let go of the fear, and trust that the wind of the Spirit will guide your journey at the right time. The fear of wanting to control comes from the fear that something will go wrong. It's as if you believe that God might forget or miss the right time to act. But remember, the Father who feeds the birds of the air and clothes the lilies of the field cares for you with a love that never fails. Letting go of control is not giving up. It's resting in the understanding that God knows what you need before you even ask. During my walk, I said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own cares." These words were not just an invitation to rest, but a reminder that the present is where God is at work now. When you let go of fear and accept that not everything is in your hands, you make room for faith to enter. And faith, my dear, is the opposite of fear. So instead of trying to control every detail, trust the process. As you surrender your fear and learn to rest, something incredible happens. You realize that God is at work, even when you can't see it. Because even in the quietest moments, He is at work, isn't He? How often have you looked at your life and thought, has God forgotten me? Why isn't anything changing, even after so many prayers? This feeling is common, and it stems from the fact that we often don't see what God is doing behind the scenes. But let me remind you of something powerful. God's silence never means absence. He is working invisibly, preparing the ground for something greater. Imagine a builder planning a house. Before he builds the walls, he has to take care of the foundation, digging deep, aligning every detail. This work is essential, but it's invisible to passers-by looking in from the outside. So it is with God's work in your life. While you think nothing is happening, He is strengthening your foundations, preparing you to bear the blessings to come. When I have healed and transformed lives, the miracle often didn't happen immediately. It took time for the person's faith to be awakened, for them to believe in the power that was already there. An example is the man born blind who came to me. The healing wasn't instantaneous. There was a process. First, I made mud with saliva and put it on his eyes. Then he had to go to the pool of Siloam and wash his face. Only then did he see. This story teaches us that even if we don't see the result at the time, there is a work going on. God is not just doing something in you. He is preparing circumstances, aligning people, opening doors and closing others, so that everything happens at the perfect time. Often it's only when we look back that we understand how every detail came together. Doesn't that give you peace? To know that even now, while you are waiting, the Father is shaping the way. So when you feel like everything is at a standstill, remember, God's work never stops. Your role is to continue to trust, even when you don't understand. For when the time is right, what seems distant today will become a reality before your eyes. Finally, knowing how to align your heart with God's timing is an important key. Trusting in God's timing is more than an attitude of waiting. It's an active way of adjusting to the divine rhythm and allowing peace to replace anxiety. There are practical steps that can help you align yourself with this perfect timing. And they're not complicated. They start in the heart and expand to everything around you. The first step is to cultivate an unwavering trust in God's love. You must remember that the Father knows you intimately and wants the best for your life. This means that even situations that seem like delays or difficulties are part of a greater plan. Trust isn't just saying, "I believe." It's giving up your worries and resting in the assurance that God is in control. Think like a sailor on the high seas. He doesn't control the wind, but he does adjust the sails. In the same way, you must adjust your heart to trust God's timing, even in the midst of storms. The second step is to keep present in the now. The human mind has a habit of wandering between the past and the future, but it is in the present that God is at work. If you are too preoccupied with what is to come or what has already passed, you will miss the opportunity to notice the signs that God is placing around you today. Make it a daily practice. When you wake up, ask yourself, how can I connect with what God is doing in my life right now? Often the answer lies in the small things, a moment of gratitude, a loving word to someone, or even a moment of silence to hear His voice. The third step is to act in faith. Trusting God's timing doesn't mean crossing your arms. On the contrary, it means acting with your heart in alignment with His will. Think, what is within your reach today that you can do in faith? Maybe it's working hard, caring for those around you, or simply being faithful in the small details. This attitude opens doors for God's time to manifest more clearly in your life. As you apply these steps, you will realize that God's time is not something that happens up ahead, but is present in every moment. Every moment you live is a preparation, a part of the plan that will lead you to the greater purpose. For when you walk in alignment with the Father, even the challenges become tools for growth and transformation. And it's interesting how, when you look back, everything begins to make sense. There are times when everything seems confusing, like the pieces of your life don't fit together. You feel like you're wandering without direction, dealing with closed doors and unexpected changes. But let me remind you of something precious. God's timing is only fully revealed when you look back and realize how perfectly everything fit together. Have you ever been in a situation where you couldn't understand why something happened at the time, but years later you realized that it was essential for you to get to where you are today? When I was on Earth, I saw many people asking themselves that question. One day I told the story of a man who planted a fig tree. He patiently tended it for a long time without seeing any fruit. But when the fig tree finally bore fruit, it fed his family and many others. Only then did he understand that he had not waited in vain. It's the same in your life. The delays, detours, and even the no's you receive are part of something bigger. Sometimes you long for an open door, but the Father knows that door won't lead you to the destination He has prepared. Other times you feel you're on the right path, but suddenly everything changes. These changes, which at first seem like losses, often turn out to be liberations or hidden opportunities. Remember, God sees the whole picture. He sees the beginning, the middle, and the end of your story, while you can only see the now. Trust Him even when you don't understand, for sooner or later you will look back and see how essential each moment was to the purpose He has set for you. Like the farmer who understands the value of waiting only when he reaps the fruit at the right time, you too will understand that there was a reason for everything. And the most beautiful thing is that when you see God's hand at work throughout your journey, your confidence in the future grows. After all, if He has taken care of you so many times before, why should He be any different now? This certainty prepares us to joyfully receive what He is ready to give us at the right time. For when God's time is revealed, we realize that the best always comes. Life teaches us that the most precious things don't come by chance. They come at the right time, shaped by what we live, learn, and endure. When you choose to trust God and His timing, something extraordinary happens. You realize that no matter how many doubts and challenges you face along the way, the best is always in store for those who wait in faith. Perhaps you've been in situations where all seemed lost, and then, unexpectedly, the solution appeared. It wasn't luck or coincidence, it was the Father working to make everything happen in the best possible way. When I healed, fed crowds, or calmed storms, it wasn't because I arrived before things got worse, but because the very moment of action had a greater impact. The same thing happens in your life. God's perfect timing makes what you expect far more significant than you imagine. You see, trust doesn't mean you'll never have doubts. There will be difficult days, and you may even wonder if something good is really going to happen. But that's when faith must be greater than the circumstances. When you keep your faith, even without understanding, you are allowing God to show you what it means to live a life guided by divine love and wisdom. And when what you've been waiting for finally happens, the joy is incomparable. Not because it was impossible, but because you realize that everything happened in the right way. Like the sun rising after a long dark night, God's blessing always shines at the right time, dispelling doubt and bringing the peace that only He can provide. So trust. Wait with a heart of faith, for the best is yet to come. God not only provides what you need, but in a way that exceeds your expectations. And as you see God's timing unfold in your life, you will understand that every moment of waiting was worth it. Remember, nothing in God's plan is haphazard, and no moment of waiting is empty. What seems like silence today will be celebration tomorrow. The Father prepares you, shapes you, and puts everything in its place. He is never late and never fails. Trust His timing, for when you place your dreams and challenges in God's hands, the best always happens. God works with perfection, and the victory He prepares for you will be so great that you will realize that every second of waiting was worth it. May your heart rest in this truth, and may you live in the assurance that God's love never fails or delays. May His peace be with you, and may your every step be illuminated by divine purpose. The best is coming, and in due time you will see it. Stay with God.